Hi, welcome to the Diablo Podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com. This is a service of DiabloIncGamers.com. I am the host, Flux. I am joined this week by a longtime guest, Wolfpaq.
Yo!
And a first-time guest we are calling JrMint, or JrMint.
JrMint. Hey, what's up, guys?
And that's a candy, right?
Yeah, my favorite candy, yeah.
Right on.
Good thing you didn't like Baby Ruth's instead. So this week's show is all about the Demon Hunter. We're going to talk about the advanced stuff, Inferno tips, and basic stuff, and if you've never played a Demon Hunter, why you should be and why you're wrong playing your lesser characters. And both of you guys have played a lot of Demon Hunters, eh?
Yeah, it's my first character.
Yeah.
So we're your last character. So,
Yeah.
so we're kind of theming this for advanced information as well as regular basic stuff, and we're going to be, I'm sure, talking about some general game issues and item finding on Inferno, etc. I mean, item hunting on Inferno, because of course there's no actual finding of items, at least anything good. Okay, so why don't you start, Wolfpaq, since you're the age before beauty. Why is Demon Hunter your favorite? Why did you play it the most? Do you like the play style, the look? Do you have a Kate Beckinsale fetish like Jay Wilson? What's the excuse?
No, it's not. It's not that fetish. The fact is, I've always been a big fan of ranged classes, specifically ones that use bows to do their damage. I was a huge fan of the Boazon in Diablo II, and it just seemed like the natural progression to go to Demon Hunter. And also, it struck me as odd that the fastest weapon in the game was the hand crossbow, but at the time that Diablo III was releasing, I was sort of obsessed with attack speed. And so I was thinking, I want to attack as fast as I can, so I will go with the fastest weapon that, in the game. So that was my thinking when I started. And I had a blast with the class all the way up to 60 in Inferno, so I haven't really looked back.
And have you played other classes as much? Or you're still primarily Demon Hunter?
No, I have played. I have a 60 Wizard and a 60 Barbarian, but neither of them are anywhere close to as much time as I put into the Demon Hunter.
And how about you, Mr. Mint?
I'm kind of with Wolfpaq. I've always been, a ranged character fan. Also, coming from World of Warcraft, I played a hunter and, just kind of associated with it that way. All the way up to 60, I've really liked it and past 60. When I first stepped into Inferno, it was definitely pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But, once you gear up, I can get Act 1 down pretty easily now and farm it pretty easily, and I still really enjoy the class a lot. So, I just hit Act 3 GOM, which is pretty broken at this point, but, I'm still trying to progress.
Have either of you guys tried any hardcore Demon Hunter?
No.
No, I have not. When I first started my Demon Hunter, I actually had trouble with Diablo the very first time, and I don't know if I'd probably get to him and then end up dying.
Well, you'd be overgeared and stuff. I recently did a Demon Hunter, started a hardcore one. I wrote a little thing over the weekend about it, and people commented and said, "How dare you play this game? It's horrible." And we moved on past those. So, literally, the first comment is like, "Why are you talking about playing the game? You should talk about how bad it is." I'm like, yeah, that would get kind of tiring, I think.
Yeah, the angry minority, right?
It's good. It's good that you hate things. It gives your life purpose. But anyway, she's level, I think, 26 now, and I'm like midway through Act 3, and it's been really easy so far. And it was interesting. I have a 60 Demon Hunter as well. I haven't gone as far to Inferno as you guys have, but going back and playing it, once you actually know what you're doing, and you know to use preparation all the time, and it's like it's weird to use Hungering Arrow. I got so used to Evasive Shot, the triple shot one.
Yeah.
It's like I can only shoot one thing now. What?
Right.
That rune's up till 34, so I'm not even to it yet, but. It's been kind of fun. It was interesting to know what I was doing really well with a class and playing it again, and using chakram and stuff that I hadn't used in forever. But we'll get to all those skills in a minute. So, what are you guys doing in Inferno? I think there seems to be a lot of I think similarity might be too light a word for it. Most people using Demon Hunters are using pretty much the same build. It seems like with the triple shot from Evasive Fire, and everyone uses Preparation, and everyone uses Stampede. Am I wrong on any of these yet?
I use a variant of that.
Oh yeah, you use Cluster Arrow because you're weird.
Yeah, I really like Cluster Arrow.
Okay, so tell us your Inferno build and why it works.
It changes a little bit, but the general idea is Smokescreen, of course, in Preparation, and Caltrops for the snare. And this is where the variation happens. Sometimes I go with Ball Lightning for my Hatred Spender, along with Scatter Spike Traps to throw down a really massive nuke. And then Hungering Arrow for my main attack. And then the variation on that is sometimes I take the Bat Companion for the Hatred regen, and then Cluster Arrow with the shoot, I'm blanking on the name of the rune right now. Basically, it's the one that makes it arch up and drop a bunch of little grenades down from it over the course of the arch, and if you aim it correctly, it can just do a ridiculous amount of bursts. The trade-off, obviously, is the hatred cost is through the roof.
Yeah, it's 50 hatred a shot, right?
But that's why I have the bat. I also have I crafted a Demon Hunter cloak that gives me another 1 hatred per second, bringing it
You're
up.
talking about cluster bombs, right?
Yes, cluster bombs. And it's hard. It's kind of difficult to learn how to aim it at first, but once you learn, you can nail an enemy with 4 or 5 of those, each one doing 230% weapon damage. It's pretty brutal. In fact, I one-shotted a yellow in Act 1 with it. It blew me away. That's when I realized, wait, this skill has amazing potential. So it was invulnerable minions, so it had weakened health, but I was still pretty excited about that.
And you're using hungering, not evasive fire for you?
Yeah, hungering arrow, because I really do like its very strong single target damage. And
are you using the 50% piercing or the scatter shot?
I'm actually using the one that increases the arrow damage by 70% when it pierces.
Devouring arrow.
Devouring arrow, yeah, because that one that's just I'm pretty sure mathematically that's the highest single target hatred generator by quite a bit.
Well, you're off the builds that most people I've talked to are using this. So what's your build, JrMint? It's a little different than his, I guess.
Yeah, mine's, I guess it goes a little against the grain from what you were talking about as well. I also use Hungering Arrow mainly with Shatter Shot for the AoEs, for the AoE there.
Yeah.
And then
which splits the arrow into 3 if it pierces.
Exactly, right.
And each one of those can also, they can't pierce again, but they do seek.
Yeah, they do seek, but you're right, they're not going to pierce again. And then ever since Nether Tentacles got nerfed, I like using Frost Arrow. I personally was always liked Frost Arrow on Elemental Shot because it does the highest damage of the Elemental Arrow at 170%. And then it also is going to snare them, and then that with the Call of the Weak passive, gives you that 15% passive at all times. So I really like that. And then the other ability I use as a defensive, which I think is against the grain, is Shadow Power with Gloom, which gives you a 65% additional reduced damage. And I just find against reflex damage mobs, which I had a lot of trouble with, that Shadow Power really has kept me alive. And really you can even just tank, I think, Act 1 elites a lot with Shadow Power as well. So I really like that ability.
So that one gives you, the basic Shadow Power gives you 20% life leech, which is not much really, because it works out. And for 3 seconds, you get that, plus the Gloom reduces enemy damage by 65% for those 3 seconds. Yeah,
and it doesn't seem like much, but when you stack up to 50 Discipline with your Cloak and Quiver, I mean, you can stack Shadow Power a few times in a row and really get through those reflex damage mobs, which you should just, destroy me pretty quickly.
Yeah, and 3 seconds isn't as short of a time as it sounds either. I mean, that's how long the shadow, the one where you disappear, I'm blinking.
Smoke screen used to be 3 seconds, and now it's 1.5 seconds.
And they nerfed it because people were using discipline generators to have permanent stealth. And theoretically, if you took the discipline on crit and you took the bola shot that returns 15% to return 2 discipline, you could keep that up quite a long time. Or even if you got the 4-piece Natalia's, it could be up for, it could be pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I think Shadow Power is honestly one of the most underrated abilities. People don't want to take it because it's only 3 seconds, but it saved my life a number of times.
And the life leech sounds big. There's one that you can do, I think, 40% life leech if you take that one rune effect.
Right.
Which sounds enormous, but life leech is really not, we're used to that from Diablo II maybe, where it was, 5% was huge. And in Diablo III, the way they calculated it, you really want life on hit. Life leech doesn't really do all that much.
Well, because in Inferno, it's nerfed. You only have 20% of the value, so that 20% becomes 4%, which is still pretty awesome if you have a high DPS, but yeah, it's not as great as it used to be.
But the Gloom is strong.
And you can get life leech on some weapons, but it's a very rare mod in Diablo 3.
And it's only 3% max, I think.
Yeah. Which is 0.75% in Inferno, so there you go.
I feel like on bows specifically, you hardly ever see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I always find it's like I forget a lot on wands, which seems weird. Like you see this red dripping wand in your character's hand on the character selection screen. It's like, how am I getting life leech with a Hydra? It's like that's just wrong somehow. But,
doesn't make sense.
You remember that?
So you guys, So we all have pretty different builds, actually. It seems like when I read forum threads about the Demon Hunter, there's a lot of people using the same builds, but you guys are both using different ones than I'm using. And it's too bad that you're wrong about that, but it's nice that there's some options and varieties possible.
Yep.
But still, the basic play style is very, very kiting, moving, pew-pewing. Of course, you can use Stampede and pretty much take out things in their tracks a lot of times, but if you don't, then it's time to move. You know, there's not a lot of tanking Demon Hunters.
I think one of the reasons that I really like Hungering Arrow is that it has a much longer range than Evasive Shot or any of the other hatred generators, really. Like, you can be hitting things off screen even at the highest point. Like the top of the screen, I think, is like 50 yards, and you can be hitting enemies off of that. So it's really great for trash mobs. You don't even have to worry about being killed because you can just be firing arrows ahead and you'll come up to them and see them already at half-life or less and be like, oh, great. I mean, that's one of the reasons I prefer Hungering Arrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hungering Arrow is super strong. Even when I was progressing through Hell, I mean, there were fights where, you're kiting something off screen, like, Gom or the boss at the end of the bridge there, and it's Siegebreaker, and you got to kite him off screen. And Diablo too. When you first get to Diablo, that's huge.
Yeah, Diablo on I can't remember if it was Hell or Nightmare, but one of those gave my Demon Hunter really a problem. I think it was Nightmare. I was pretty undergeared, and I just could not. He just kept charging me, eating me up, and I finally had to go to dual crossbows and use the bolo shot one that has a stun on it.
Yep.
It's an electrical one. It was totally cheesy, but I could basically just stand him still, and using those with the impale that stuns. And just stood him up in his tracks and just kept bang, 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 like Billy the Kid, just two guns. And it was completely cheesy. It was a useless build for anything else, but it worked at that one instance.
The other ability great for stunning is the Impale. You're the first secondary you get with the Impact rune that has a 65% chance to stun. I found that really helpful against bosses where you need to stun them as well. Diablo, you can stun them, like chain stun them, really.
Yeah, imagine if you get like 4 Demon Hunters all alternating on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They probably have to nerf it, like they did all those hotfixes on the Monk, where people were finding ways to keep the 3-second bonus on the auras forever.
Yeah.
So, equipment and item finding. That's obviously the biggest topic about Diablo 3 these days. And what are either of you guys using any items you've actually found yourselves? Wolfpaq.
Yeah, in fact, most of my magic...
You freak. Nobody uses anything they find themselves. It's the auction house.
No, I found a Talrash's plate that had Dex and Gold Find and Magic Find on it, so then that's my new Magic Find chest plate. And I found a Immortal King's helm with Gold Find, Magic Find, and Dex and a socket, so I'm wearing that now. And yeah, I mean, most of my Magic Find set, I think I bought maybe 2 pieces on the auction house, but I just put together from my time in Inferno.
So the biggest complaint about Diablo 3 is that you can never find anything good and that uniques and sets all suck. And you just refuted both of those in one brief statement.
Well, I mean, in my experience.
Man, Bobby's check must have cleared today, huh?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So how about you for that one, JrMint? Are you self-found or auction housing?
It's unfortunate. I mean, up until 60, I had some stuff that I had really just found myself. I remember I was using like level 25 rings until I just could not ever find a better ring. It was for long. My level 25 ring was like so good. It had like a socket and critic damage, and then I hit Inferno, and I just unfortunately had to buy everything. I've done so many farming runs and have not been able to get a single good drop.
Well, maybe Wolfpaq can share some of those with you.
I know. It'd be nice to share the check there.
Yeah.
I have had since you mentioned rings, I am horrible at finding any decent rings or amulets. And maybe because that's partially because it's hard to... You can't craft them, for one thing,
right,
so that you can never make a rare of yourself. But I'm using like blue rings on several characters in Hell, in Inferno, and I just cannot find better rings and amulets. Have you had that problem, Wolfpaq?
Yeah, I think that's a common problem. In fact, I literally, like, a couple days ago replaced my blue ring that I bought on the auction house for, like, I don't know, like 30,000 gold that gave me 7 attack speed and 70 dex, but I literally just replaced it with a ring I found that gave, like, 120 dex and the same attack speed. I was like, all right, an upgrade. But it's hard. It's really hard to get these rare rings and rare amulets, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're priced. Other than weapons, I think rings and amulets are the most expensive things in the game.
I'd say they're more expensive than weapons a lot of the time.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, if you look at Natalia's mark, since this is a demon hunter, like the cheapest one's like 60 mil, or it was last I checked.
Yeah, it's
which
nuts.
Is ridiculous.
I know.
Do you guys feel like jewelry drops less often, or is it harder to get good mods on them, and because you can't craft them at all, there's no other way to get it? Or are we just unlucky?
I just think due to the value of them, maybe it just seems that way. I don't know. I just know anytime I see a yellow word that says amulet or ring on the ground, my heart starts beating a little faster. And I'm like, oh, man, is it going to be good? And, and I pick it up. And I remember I picked up a 62 amulet the other day, and I was so excited. And I rolled with 200 strength and 50 poison resistance. I was like, oh, give me a break. But and then my very first Inferno run, I got a set ring, and it turned out to be a witch doctor ring, which is probably the least valuable of any of them. So that's the way it goes, I guess.
I don't know if they had witch doctor rings.
I'm
not even sure they have witch doctors at this point.
It's worth pointing out too that rings and amulets can get a lot of the DPS mods that are unavailable on most item sets, like crit chance and crit damage and attack speed. I mean, those three right there are aside from your primary stat, those are the DPS stats. And other than gloves and helmets and bracers, I don't think you can get crit chance anywhere else. And I know that crit damage is really restricted too. So there's just a high demand for rings that are filling a lot of the desired stats, and not a lot of them fill it because, as we all know, finding rares with even 2 or 3 good stats on them is exceptionally difficult.
The other annoying thing is that you pick a bunch of crap up and you go back to town and you look and you have a couple of 1x1 slots that have a round thing that's yellow.
Right. And
you get excited and you realize it's another goddamn barbarian belt.
Yeah.
Or because belts look like amulets or rings when they're not. There's just a question mark on it.
Or follower.
And it's like, ooh, I got a ring. I forgot about that. And then it's a rare clasp or something. It's like, oh, goddamn it. I blame Jay Wilson for that, by the way.
Or also the follower specials.
Yeah, you can go to hell too. So, for people who have not played a Demon Hunter, what are they missing out? Why should they? It's very pew-pew, it's very fast, you can shoot quick, it's a lot of movement, have very high, as Wolfpaq said, very high attack rate. Is that what you guys like about the class? If somebody hasn't played a Demon Hunter, why should they play it? Talk them into it.
If you like dealing a lot of damage really fast, there's no passive in the game that comes close to Sharpshooter in terms of being able to store up and unleash a burst that's just it's nothing that can compare to it. Like, it doesn't matter what skill you're using, ball lightning or frost arrow or cluster arrow. When you have 1 second of 100% critical strike chance, that's just it's beautiful.
You could shoot multiple projectiles in that time, and they all critical when they get there.
Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't go away right away. You get that extra second where you get 3 or 4 crits in a row. Yeah.
And
it's just yellow number.
It's amazing.
If it's AoE, you're hitting everything in the line or on the screen. If you're using multi-shot, it's just it's pretty spectacular.
Multi-shot, when I hit level 22, I still remember the level it came out because that ability was just so amazing.
Yeah.
I can't remember another ability I was more excited for than that. And I remember, I forget where I was, but I just shot it. I think I was in Act 3 somewhere. And just an entire row of those little scorpion things just all died. I was like, okay, I'm never giving this ability up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you did.
And
then I had to, yeah.
Yeah, I had to, yeah, because it's horribly hatred inefficient.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to the individual skills. That's definitely one I have some... Because, multi-shot was so awesome in Diablo II. And it looks awesome, but it's just this gigantic clump of hatred, and the damage isn't high enough.
Yeah.
If you get the damage, if you get your personal damage through gear high enough, it has a passive or a rune that makes it half the hatred, which isn't too shabby. So.
And then it's only half as useless.
Yeah.
It's still double the cost of elemental arrow, which is the problem.
You're right. You're right.
So the basic way Demon Hunters work is they have the double resource, which no other class has, and hatred basically is what you spend on attack spells, and discipline is basically what you spend on the escape skills and on crowd control and such. And what happens when you run out of discipline? You die immediately. Yes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. And there's a skill that's almost mandatory, preparation, which completely refills your discipline, although you can modify that a little bit with some of the rune effects. And at what point did you guys realize that preparation was mandatory for late game? Did you figure that early? I resisted using it forever because I just hated wasting a whole skill just to add my resource back.
Yeah.
But eventually you realize, I'm stupid, I have to use this constantly.
Yeah, I didn't use smokescreen or preparation until hell. Like, I never even tried them once. And then I remember I stepped into that that map. I'm forgetting the name. The area that you go to get to the cemetery. And I remember I got killed by the very first elite pack there, and people were like, "Oh, pick up smoke screen," and then I picked that up with preparation, and you don't even realize you have discipline. I feel like until you hit hell difficulty.
Yeah.
Well, you just can't vault as much as you want to.
Right.
How was your realization of preparation, Wolfpaq?
I think I made it through hell without it. I was just a vault kiter, and with the one that halved the cost if you did it again within 5 or 6 seconds. But yeah, when I got to Inferno especially, it's just, you need to have smokescreen when you are about to be killed. There's so many situations where smokescreen is the way you're going to live. There's just, you have a undodgeable attack approaching you, or you're jailered, or you're walled, and there's an arcane sentry coming toward you. There's just, Vault can't cut it. And so smokescreen is very expensive for a very short time, so you need to have that extra set of discipline. Even with 50 discipline, you still need to be able to reset it, unless you're a very lucky person and you have 4-piece Natalias.
And the base discipline is only 30, and smokescreen costs 14.
Yep.
So
and it regens
and it lasts a second and a half. So
yeah.
I feel like a really underrated preparation rune too is the battle scars, which I use, which heals you for 60% of your health. And a lot of people use the ones that give you the 30% chance to reset the cooldown. Where I feel like battle scars has saved me so many times. I mean, it's like twice as strong as any other potion in the game. I feel like almost, and and you get it every time.
That's the one I use because you really don't have any other healing options with the Demon Hunter.
Right.
I mean, it's really tough to. There's not a lot of regen or lifesteal or procs for anything like that. So really, it's potions or that, and potions are slow and they suck.
Yeah.
I hear all my friends talk about buying potions all the time. I'm sitting on like 100 of them because I use battle scars.
Yeah, and you can't only use a potion. Yeah, it's like the first time I ever really built up huge amounts of potions is in Inferno. Because I guess for one reason you don't keep finding another higher quality and therefore throwing away all your lower ones. But
yep.
You just get tons and tons of them. I mean, my Demon Hunters got well over 100 of whatever is it. What are they, Mythics, I think?
Yeah.
Runic Mythic?
Mythic, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, for me at least, it's because I die before I have a chance to potion a lot of the time.
Well, that's efficient.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to waste that extra potion if you're going to die anyway.
No.
So basically, the Demon Hunter function is you use hatred generators. You have to have at least one of those on every character, every build.
Yeah.
And those build up your hatred, and then you have various skills that you can use hatred to do special stuff or expend additional damage. And quite often, though, you can just use your hatred builder. It's kind of like being a monk in a way with the spirit generator. You can just use the same one over and over again for certainly for trash mobs.
Yeah, Hungering Arrow is a great ability. Other than, Elemental Arrow or Cluster Shot, it's probably the best offensive ability we have. Just for, you figure it builds hatred and it does a ton of damage, so it's a great, great ability.
I'll still take Evasive Fire over, but we can debate that. And then the problem with Demon Hunters, at least the weakness, they have huge damage and maneuverability, but they don't have any real damage mitigation. They have a few, short-term ones, like you mentioned with Gloom.
Yep.
Yeah.
But generally, you're very glass cannon-y. I was looking forward to the Wizard a lot before D3 because I thought the Wizard would really be the glass cannon, Diablo 2 style or even Diablo 1 style. Teleport, bang, 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 shoot spells, teleport, quick movement. And then, of course, teleport's got a 5,000-second cooldown. So really, the Demon Hunter is the glass cannon. It's the quick movement, the pew-pew, and you can't take a lot of hits and damage.
Yeah.
And there's really no way to build it to be a tank. They released screenshots forever ago of Demon Hunters holding axes and shields, and that's really cute. Thanks, Jay, but not so much.
Yeah.
Are you guys satisfied with the Demon Hunter playstyle? Do you wish there was a little more variety and you could be a tank or something, or you like the pew-pew?
I was just going to say that some Demon Hunters are making the tank build work. It's tough. It requires a lot of specialized gear, but there's a let's see. I just had the build in front of me. So they take numbing traps, and then they rely on caltrops to do a lot of their damage. So they surround themselves with caltrops, and then they take custom engineering, which doubles their duration, and it does damage. So monsters approach them are doing 25% less damage. Then they pop the sentry with Guardian Turret to reduce the damage they take further by 15%, and they have Shadow Power Gloom for 65% and Preparation to restore all that and heal them. And some of these Demon Hunters stack Vitality, so they have ludicrous amounts of health, like 40, 50,000 plus, which means 60% of that you're restoring double a potion at least in just in hitting preparation. And then they surround themselves. I mean, there's a couple options at that point, but some of them really like to stack the grenades, the gas grenades, because I guess that does a lot of damage. I mean, it's the highest, or not? It's not the highest, but it's the highest AOE that we have for hatred generators. And so then that's what they do. And some of them are able to make it work. I've never seen it, but there's a thread on the Demon Hunter forums right now, actually, that's talking about how useful it is, and it references previous topics. So apparently this has been a theme going for some of the community.
So it takes you you use a couple of skills with runes that basically reduce enemy damage or slow them or keep them in a pack, and there's a couple of passives that add to that and help out with it.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, there's I think there's one of the caltrops. There's the rune that adds critical hit bonus while you're in the radius of it. You could certainly do that if you were standing still.
Or you could.
And the shadow.
You could take the caltrops that actually does damage too, which I think is what they do. The jagged spikes.
Yeah, 45%.
There's also there's a fan of daggers as one of the effects in fan of knives, which is a 65% stun chance on top of 60% movement slow it as well.
Yeah.
So you could definitely create a little spot where everything in it is super, super slow and is greatly reduced in damage.
Yeah.
And your pew-pew is increased because of various skills.
Yeah, but the problem is when you build like that, it's the same problem that every tank class has, really. Your DPS goes extremely low, and you have massive problems with mobs whose AI isn't to run up to you and stand in your traps,
Yeah, and then you get a ranged attacker, and it's like, okay, now what?
Now what? Yeah.
I just feel like with a build like that, it's trying to turn the class into something it's not. I mean, yeah, congratulations, you can live for 10 seconds or 20 seconds maybe, but you're going to get killed, like you said, because without damage and anything in Act 2 or 3. And I just don't feel like that's how they design the class to be a good tank. I think people sometimes just do that just to say they can, and it's not actually viable.
Well, it depends on what you consider viable too. But you're right. There are levels of viability. Just because someone with an amazing set of gear is able to take a build through and kill Diablo and Inferno doesn't mean that build is viable. Because not everyone obviously has an amazing set of gear. Otherwise, I feel like there'd be a lot less complaining.
I just feel like that's not why people pick up the Demon Hunter. I think if you roll a Demon Hunter, you're not thinking of making yourself a tank. Yeah. I mean, you want to do 100 to 200k crits, all the time, and burn stuff down in 10 seconds.
Yep. Oh.
And what if you're hardcore? So
yeah, no, that's good.
If you're hardcore, that build would be probably very appealing.
Or at least in certain circumstances and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you guys tried hardcore Demon Hunters? Not yet.
No.
I'd like to. It's funny, I'll go to the character creation screen and then can't come up with a name, so I just go back to what I was doing.
Do you guys think they're viable in Inferno? Could you play a Demon Hunter solo in Inferno and survive reliably?
No.
See, I don't think you can either. I mean, I've tried all kinds of different builds in Inferno, and obviously my gear is way down the list 'cause I'm not using the auction house to buy things because I don't want to pay to win, so I want to find it myself.
The first time you get Waller Arcane Jailer, there goes your 50 hours of playtime.
Yeah, because you don't have a teleport, and Smokescreen nothing breaks Wallers. You can break Jailers with Smokescreen.
Right.
But, you get whatever, Vortex, Molten Chains, Molten Fire Chains kind of thing.
Exactly.
And, if you get like 3 of those in a row, the first 2 you escape, and then you're out of discipline, and then the next one pulls you in, and you die in 0.1 seconds.
Yeah.
So do you guys think, so if you wanted to make a Demon Hunter, I guess you could do it in Inferno if you had a tank, and you played really carefully and stayed behind him and stuff, but even then, eventually, it just seems like there should be something, because you don't have the damage mitigation.
Right.
You don't have the diamond skin kind of thing like a wizard.
Eventually, you're just going to get Vortexed and be in Molten and die in 2 seconds, and there goes your 2 days of playtime.
And all your gear.
And all your gear. Congratulations, keep your gold.
And it really seems like somebody will figure out a way to do this, or at least we'll just do it through trial and error and time frame. But I mean, I really just don't, I've got other characters in the Inferno, and obviously people have beaten Inferno, at least with a wizard and a barbarian that I've seen done with hardcore. So, I mean, it seems like it should be doable, but I can't envision it. Like, 90% of the packs you can just steamroll. And then like 8% you can survive if you get some good breaks, but then you just get some of those eventually, where you get the Waller, Mortar,
Yeah, you'd have to be
Desecrator or something, and it's just like you're not going to get away.
You'd have to be really good at identifying the cases where you need to skip and then acting on it before they have a chance to jailer and vortex and mortar you to death.
Sometimes you just get that waller, in a corner and in a defiled crypt, and you just curse at the screen, and there's nothing you can do, and
Yeah.
And we should clarify smokescreen. It sounds like it's just a visual thing, but I mean it makes you intangible and vulnerable, etc. for the duration. So you can stand in an arcane wall, or you can stand in molten, whatever, for of course 1.5 seconds. But
I'll be playing multiplayer and hit smokescreen when I'm frozen or jailed, and I just look at other people getting smacked by an arcane rotating thing, and I just smokescreen out of it, and it's just like I don't see anything else that strong in the game. I mean, it's I think the most game-breaking ability there is.
well, you could just teleport or leap over wallers if you're other classes,
Yeah.
but in terms of standing still. But of course, it's a very high discipline cost, and it lasts a very short time, and you can shoot while you're doing it too. So
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, I've not uncommonly had like the last part of a boss, or you get like invulnerable minions, and you just want to take out the boss, and you just use rapid fire or something, and like you get your 3 seconds of smokescreen with your full discipline, and just payload on the one target.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like if I don't kill him before this runs out, I am done. But
There's cases
You
like
can often-
that where the scatter spike traps or the cluster arrow come in really handy.
nobody uses those skills, Wolfpaq. Stop
Oh, they're
talking.
good.
I love
No,
Spike Trap. I wish I could fit that in my build. That ability has so much damage. Especially in Act 3. I remember running Act 3 Hell with Spike Traps. You put them in those doorways that mobs have to walk through, and they just instantly fall over.
Yeah, 3 of them in one place is pretty ridiculous.
Pretty amazing.
It's funny that we have so few gadgets. I mean, they kind of mentioned like there was, like Demon Hunters had sort of movement skills and arrow skills, and then like devices. And the devices are caltrops, spike trap, and I guess which one am I forgetting?
The
In the
turret,
devices category
sentry.
is Evasive Fire, Fan of Knives, Spike
Yeah,
Trap,
Sentry.
Sentry. Yeah.
Yeah, but no one really. I mean, Sentry's a very specialized skill, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
They talked about like that was like a third. We thought it was sort of be like a demon hunter, an assassin kind of thing, where you'd have like a whole tree of traps or something, and then there's 3.
They did make it out that way, yeah.
And caltrops really isn't a device. I mean, they call it that, but it's more like it's a targeted debuff slowing thing.
Yeah.
You don't throw out some machine.
Wolfpaq,
So how about Sentry?
do you use the Torturous Ground, or do you use the 80% movement speed one?
I use the 80% movement speed one because the one that gives you the stun seems like it's useless in Inferno because everything just ignores it.
I don't know. Maybe that's the case, yeah. In Act 1, it's served me well for my farm runs, at least.
Well, they have that whole thing where if the monsters, they reduce whatever the effect is like by a quarter, and if it's below some threshold, it has no effect at all.
Right.
So if like the example on the Blizzard page is if a monster has a half-second threshold and your skill does 0.45 seconds, absolutely nothing will happen. It won't get stunned at any kind or form. It's not that you get 0.25 seconds; you get no stun at all.
Yeah.
So I've generally gone with the slower one, but you don't really need it that much. I mean, generally things that are that fast. I use the chilling molten arrow one, whatever that's called, frost arrow,
Frost Arrow is awesome.
which is nice to slow and damage, of course.
And you combine that with Call of the Week, and it's 15% extra damage at all times, really.
Cha-ching. Do you guys use rapid fire anymore? I mean, it seems like there's not a lot of single target big damage attacks for the Demon Hunter. You're very good at hitting lots of things at once, very AoE. But
yeah, the one time I used rapid fire, I was with 2 of my buddies, and we were trying to do Belial over and over again, and it just wasn't working out. So I dropped my 5 stacks of Nepalem Valor, and I put on the rapid fire one that shoots out the grenades, and I just, I took the mark that returns hatred every time I hit the enemy, and I took the bat, and I just stood in the corner for the entire fight and spammed those grenades on Belial, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. I can't think of another time the rapid fire has been useful to me in Inferno ever. So there was the one time it was awesome, but other than that, no, I haven't used it since beta, really.
Yeah, I haven't used rapid fire at all since Nightmare, really. Speaking of Belial on Inferno, the ability I went to was, again, Impale with the rune Grievous Wounds, which makes your critical hits cause 100% additional damage. I mean, I was getting 250k crits on Belial Inferno, and that's actually how I ended up beating him with that Impale rune.
Yes.
So just strong single target damage. I mean, it doesn't get higher than that if you can get some nice crits.
it's very hatred expensive, though, so you have to
What's
compensate
25?
for that.
And then rapid fire is 20 with 10 while channeling. So I mean, it's they're almost equal.
Well,
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend rapid fire against Belial. I mean, the one I find useful is the web shot one, where it turns it blue and slows the target. And that can be really good against single targets that are trying to get to you when they're you put caltrops as well, and they're just creeping speed.
Oh, I never tried that. I like that. Yeah.
And every bit of your shot is damaging one enemy. I mean, everything else is nice for lots of things. Wolfpaq certainly listed a few of those with his weird skills that no one else uses. But if you can stack caltrops and other stuff and get the web shot one, and that slows their movement considerably, and that works on everything, even into Hell. I use that quite a bit on Diablo and Hell, actually. But of course you have to do quick bursts of it because they shoot things at you.
Yeah, that's the problem. Staying stationary is just never a really good idea for the Demon Hunter.
No.
Did you guys enjoy Chakram when you were earlier and have found it? No, I mean, once you get the twin Chakrams in Act 2, it's like this is just Massacre City for a while.
Oh, I loved Chakrams leveling up. I was so sad to give those up. Those were so much fun.
Have you used any of them besides the duel? The other ones have these weird effects. You can position it exactly where you want, or it moves in a different angle or something.
Razor Disc is pretty cool.
They just move so slow. That's what I didn't like about them. You throw these twin chakrams or chakrams all over the place, and then I switch out this new rune. It's like just moving at a crawl. I'm like, give me my twins back.
Razor Disc will go right to your mouse almost instantly.
Okay.
It's pretty great, but then once it gets there, it does a weird sort of half circle thing that isn't that effective, but it's the whole, piercing everything in its path on the way there that is pretty sweet. I tried that for a little bit when the elemental arrow got nerfed.
I keep thinking about going back to dual chakrams for an Act 1 farm run. Have you tried that at all? Is it viable at all, like in Act 1 at least?
It probably would be. I think a lot of stuff's viable if you have the gear to support it, but I don't think chakrams would be any more useful than your frost arrow.
Yeah, you're right.
I tried it recently in Inferno, and it's fine if they're slow and stupid. Like if you use it with Stampede or something, it's really nice. But it's not good for kiting. It doesn't slow anything, and it's really hard to hit stuff that moves fast with it. As you know, they're really useful if stuff's in a cluster.
Yeah.
And so maybe you could alternate it with something slow or use it with caltrops as well. But I found it very not good when I was having to run and just sort of throwing a shot over your shoulder all the time. It's like it would get half a hit and do nothing.
Right, you got to just
Frost arrow was
it.
much more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously it's situational. If you have a tank,
it's only 10
either you guys ever use strafe?
Never.
Never.
I mean, I used it. It's so fun at low levels, or like in the beta, it was fun.
Yeah.
Because it kills every single destructible on the screen in like 0.1 seconds. But it's such a high cost. It's fun to use it because you can move and shoot and hit things anywhere you want. It's auto targeting.
Yeah.
I want it to be good. Goddammit, because strafe I liked that a lot. And I liked it a lot in D2. It was fun to just stand there and shoot everything around you without moving.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work. I want them to fix it. I want it to be better. Make it better.
Yeah, that's
well, you
definitely...
see in 1.4. In 1.4, they're going to be buffing these rarely used abilities. I can imagine. I bet strafe is going to be one of those they buff, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. If there's no other skill that is, I think, less used than strafe, it's just you can't use it. It's just unusable.
Right.
Now, how do you feel?
You'll get kicked out of the game.
So how about Sentry? Sentry is sort of like a Hydra kind of thing. You set down this little turret and it shoots crossbows at stuff. And it seems cool in concept, but when I've used it, it just shoots like super, super slowly and inefficiently.
Yeah.
Have you guys, you park them next to Belial during the battle and you can do other stuff? I mean, have you gotten any use out of that?
In certain boss fights, it comes in handy where you don't need all your defensive abilities. Like, there's certain boss fights where you don't need caltrops, for instance, or maybe shadow power. And you can put that in there, and it'll add up. I mean, I think it does 20% weapon damage for 40 seconds. So, I mean, it can add up if you can drop an ability for a boss battle, but not just in your regular, day-to-day thing.
Yeah, I can't. It's losing your Nephalem Valor stacks sort of kills the whole build variety thing. So what you can't use on your way to the boss is sort of rough to try to put it in, unless you're like desperate for a way to beat them. But I tried the aid station for a little bit because I play a lot of co-op, but it's
too small, right?
It's too small, and having to recast it over and over again, you need that discipline to keep yourself alive,
I hear you, yeah. I was disappointed by that, too, how small it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and discipline, people who haven't played Demon Hunters don't realize that how much discipline, it's like everything you need to use for crowd control or anything other than just damage costs discipline.
Yeah.
And it's a very small pool, and it's only 30 discipline to start with, and it regenerates 1 per second. So it's really essential to try to get, and there's only very few items that give you more, right? It's just bows and cloaks, I believe.
And quivers.
And quivers, yeah, that's right.
Biggest advice I can give a new Demon Hunter at 60 is first thing you should do is get your discipline to 50, honestly. It's going to save your life.
And of course makes you move so much more quickly with passives and with vaulting and stuff. And you guys don't use Evasive-Fire. Of course, that also costs discipline when you backflip with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you use Tactical Advantage with your Evasive-Fire?
I don't even remember. That's a passive,
Yeah,
right?
it increases your movement speed by
that one,
60.
Yeah, I think well, it's hard not to use it because it's so fun to run fast with vault or whatever.
I've actually seen several Demon Hunters using that in their regular builds. They just squeeze it in next to the 20% damage when no one's in range and sharpshooter, and then move super fast.
Yeah, it's hard not to enjoy the faster run stuff.
Yeah.
It's so hard to give up something for tactical advantage, in my opinion. Like I feel like every Demon Hunter is going to use archery and sharpshooter.
Archery,
and then
that's the one I forgot.
Yeah, and then I really like Vengeance, which gives you the additional hatred, or Call of the Week, which I've talked about a few times. It's just hard to give that up for just a run speed sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun to run fast.
We also got to get the 12% movement speed on the boots.
Yeah, my monk is like level 45 or so, and softcore, so it doesn't matter if he dies. And I have a passive that just gives you running speed.
Yeah.
It is nothing but, it's like 10% faster run speed. It's like, I want to move faster.
Yeah, I know that feeling, yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm so obviously not a hardcore monk with this character, but it's like, I'm spending an entire skill, one of my 3 passives just to move a little faster. It's like, Jesus, what do I got to waste, but it's fun.
Well, you've seen the Demon Hunter one, right? It gives you 15% movement speed, but only when you're at full hatred. It's like the most worthless passive in the game, because you're never at full hatred.
Yeah, well, of course, the only time you'd want that is like between packs to move from one to the next, but of course you're never at full hatred then, you know? And you're shooting all the time, so how are you ever going to be full hatred? Yeah, that's a little pointless.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask about passives. None of them, since we're talking about that already, basically that you guys said, people use like tactical advantage or steady aim or sharpshooter, which is critical hit increase. And none of them really change the game. There's not like, there's passives for, this kind of goes into the whole topic of Demon Hunters being fairly simplistic in their builds. They're kind of avoiding stuff, pew-pewing, and a few slowing skills.
Yeah.
And there's not, like you look at like some of these more advanced builds for like the Wizard or the Barbarian especially, and Monk as well, and there's all this stuff that triggers off of procs, where if you get critical hits, it increases your discipline, or your resource, or it resets
your cooldown.
The one cool build there's a really cool build with the Wizard now, where there's a passive that takes 1 second off your cooldowns of everything every time you critical hit. And so people use that with like Energy Twister, which gives massive proc checks. And you can just spam like Energy Twister, Diamond Skin, and Frost Nova.
And
constantly.
And the other one, the Explosive Blast.
Yeah, that too.
For chain reaction,
so
it's amazing. It's really amazing.
So you're using 4 skills that all have cooldowns from like 6 to 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can cast them literally like 4 times a second because you're proccing so much.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that with the Demon Hunter. There's no passive that, triples your discipline every time you get a critical hit or something. So it seems like the Demon Hunter is not, it's fun, obviously we all enjoy it. But it just seems like there's nothing that's really game-changing. There's no, you don't choose this passive because you're going to do a whole different style of play just because of it. Did you guys miss something like that, or do you think it'd be more fun if they added something in that did weird stuff?
I feel that Sharpshooter sort of is cool. It changes the game a little bit, because when you're kiting, if you realize, if I save up, if I just hold on a couple seconds, I can get a much higher crit chance and use those couple seconds to regen my hatred and then unload my hatred and my criticals at the same time. So Sharpshooter, I feel like, is the only thing we have that sort of does that. I know that we do have one that says our critical hits restore 1 discipline, but
I've tried that and I really couldn't even notice it.
I don't like that one at all.
It's not comparable at all to critical mass, the Wizard skill, which is incredible. It's just, it's not game-changing whatsoever.
I think if you have your passive crit up to maybe 30%, 20%, maybe you'd see something from Night Stalker, which is the crit has a chance to restore to discipline, but otherwise it's not worth it.
It really needs a visual, like a little plus,
a
little blue plus would pop up or something, like, ooh, I just got a discipline point.
Yeah.
You don't really notice it when your discipline is coming back at 1 per second, and you're just like, oh, now it's 1.5 per second occasionally.
Yeah, I really hate, too, this whole, it happens all over the place. It says critical hits have a chance to restore 1 discipline. Well, what chance? Like critical hit is already something that doesn't happen that often to begin with compared to how often you're attacking. So it's important to know how many, so you just have a sense of security realizing, okay, half my crits are giving me what discipline, or a third of my crits, or 20% of my crits are giving me a discipline. Like that would be an awesome thing to put in the tooltip. Like they're talking about how they want to simplify tooltips, but then they put in this really obscure wording. Like that kind of ticks me off.
The weirdest passive, I was just looking at this, Grenader, which it said, I remember looking at this, upon death you drop a giant grenade that explodes for 450% weapon damage. Like, good thing I'm dead. I mean, I guess that's okay in a multiplayer, but wow, it's just...
PvP.
Yeah, PvP, there you go.
I actually, when I use Cluster Arrow, I take that for the hatred reduction.
Right, now that's
so
nice.
So that I can spam 3 Cluster Arrows in a row. Although
I also
really,
like ballistics sometimes. I think that could be fun to use. If you stack a bunch of abilities that use rockets and increases rocket damage by 50%, that's kind of neat. I really tried.
Have you ever used a rocket?
But it's like multi-shot, strafe, turret, or sentry. These are the skills that have rockets, and they're so bad.
Right, I know.
It's hard making room for the turret increase or the rocket damage increase.
Numbing traps could be kind of interesting. It's 25% damage reduction for 3 seconds after enemies are hit by fan of knives, caltrops, or spike traps.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be a mandatory if you're doing this. If you're doing kind of the tank demon hunter thing.
Yeah, numbing traps plus custom engineering was the true mandatory tank build, along with caltrops.
So we've all kind of agreed that demon hunter is very pew-pewy and movement-y, and it's not viable in Inferno. What would you change? JrMint here doesn't want to change the basic gameplay style. So what would you add to a demon hunter if you were adding some skills or passives or just, tweaking stuff? I guess you could even do it with some unique items or something. Other than, plus 10,000 hit points or something. Okay, plus 100,000 hit points.
I think,
honestly, what do you need? I mean, something like what if there was a rune in Vault that could go over wall or something like that? Would that just become totally mandatory then?
I would say it'd be mandatory, but I think, honestly, looking at other classes, the thing we're missing is a big cooldown. I mean, I'm leveled a Barb to 60, and I mean, anytime you hit an Elite Pack, you hit Wrath of the Berserker, and it's the win button, right? I mean, and then Wizard has Archon. Archon. And, I mean, Demon Hunter, we have Sharpshooter, I guess, which is somewhat of a cooldown. But, there's no actual button you hit every 2 minutes that gives you God mode like the other classes have, in my opinion. And I really think that would go a long way to help us.
Well, I think Shadow Power is supposed to be that, kind of, but it's not effective enough.
It used to be attack speed, and, right back
in the beta, yeah.
In the beta, and when it was attack speed, that's exactly what it was, but they decided to make it life leech instead.
But that wouldn't have saved... Well, I mean, that wouldn't have saved your ass from a tank mob, though, I mean, you just shoot faster. You could do a little more damage before you die.
Yeah, well, I think it was also longer than 3 seconds, but yeah, you're right. It would not protect you.
But you could pop it at a distance then and shoot at, 100% more weapon damage or weapon speed for 5 seconds. I don't know. Just something like that would help.
So what do we need? And like a diamond skin kind of thing, like a slow missiles, like the Amazon had in D2. I mean the danger is not from melee. The danger is not from ranged attackers or regular. The danger is when you get caught, by a vortex, waller, molten, etc. And it seems like there's not like some kind of a big cooldown emergency. There's not really a panic button for the Demon Hunter. Smoke screen, yeah, but 1.5 seconds.
One of the things I'm thinking, this is sort of not, it's not what you were just saying, but one of the things I think is a glaring hole in the Demon Hunter arsenal is some sort of passive or renewable source of damage reduction. Every single other class has at least one thing, like I know the monk can convert all of his dex into armor, which is plus, crazy. It's plus 1,500 to 2,000 armor, and the Witch Doctor can just straight up reduce all damage taken by 20%. And the Wizard has Blur and the really ridiculous rune in the energy armor that increases all of her resistances by 40% and dis into 65% armor boost. Everyone's got that defensive.
And the Wizard has the other rune in that skill that cuts all incoming damage to 35%. So
people say with Wizards you can stack enough life per second that you can never die because you can never go below 35% or something.
And Barbs, have their shout that gives them, massive increase in it can give you life regen, it can give you resistances and armor increase. Like, we don't have anything like that. Like, all of the classes do. The monk has several. The witch doctor has the big. So, I mean, I know that when they made the repair cost increase, like, who they were looking at were demon hunters, because the glass cannon was the build to choose, because we don't have any sort of defensive ability that lasts as long as any of the other classes. And I'm not sure how they could fix that, because none of our abilities, either active or passive, really... or I guess I take that back. We have brooding, which could be modified to be something better than what it is, because right now I don't know any demon hunter who takes brooding.
Pretty terrible.
Yeah, 1% of your life, really? Like, when you haven't taken damage, like, you don't need
Maybe
that.
make it 5% of your life or something.
Yes, something.
And isn't that you need to not take damage for 3 seconds before it kicks in?
Yeah.
So that would do nothing when you're really, that's not a panic button though. I mean, that's
Right.
No.
I guess if you were kiting, you could regen really quickly, but you can do that with equipment anyway, right?
Yeah, it'd be way better with equipment.
I guess right now all I use as a panic button is preparation with battle scars. I mean, I'll hit that sometimes even when I have discipline and just need a heal.
Yeah.
You can throw that on.
But it doesn't get you out of a trap
No.
of, wall or molten, etc.
No, nothing gets you out of mortar for the most part.
So what if there was a skill? Well, obviously the trade-off is that demon hunters are very fast and have huge damage output.
Yeah.
You can easily get the highest damage of anybody when you get sharpshooter going in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can shoot everything on the screen with huge AOE. So you're a glass cannon. But maybe what if there was a passive or something that 20% reduced damage in exchange for 50% monster damage reduction or something like that. I mean, most people wouldn't use it, but maybe hardcore would become a little more doable on Inferno if you wanted to be patient.
I think later act Inferno. To be honest, I would gladly give up an offensive passive to take a defensive passive. I've done that on my barb. I've done that on other classes. I'll sometimes look just thinking, maybe did I miss something? And there's a defensive passive I can take. And I would honestly gladly give up one offensive to take something like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it could be as simple as the opposite of the wizard's glass cannon passive. Increase our resistances, increase our armor at the cost of some of our ranged attack damage.
Yeah, like a reverse steady aim, actually.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Or steady aim gives you a damage bonus if things are further away. Maybe there could be one that gives you a damage bonus and a defensive bonus when things are close or
Something like that. Yeah, it'd be more interesting.
So how do you guys feel about the, if you wanted new uniques, new properties on sets of uniques, what would you add? What kind of special stuff? Would you want procs that would cast some of your spells, increase discipline? I mean, what would be a fun thing that would actually change the gameplay a little bit?
I just thought of this. Maybe, it's always cool when you turn into other things, like you hit Wrath of the Berserker and you turn into this huge thing as a barb. Maybe, you could get a proc and turn into some sort of a demon, and do...
You have shadow power. You have purple wings.
Right, exactly. There you go. Build on that. turn into some big demon for 5 or 10 seconds and do 300% weapon damage. A 10% chance, I don't know, 5% chance, something like that. That could be cool.
Yeah.
But does that fit the pew-pew mentality, though? That seems like a game changer. That sounds like you're trying to make the Demon Hunter something it's not meant to be.
Yeah. It's just shoot.
Somebody on the podcast once said he didn't like that idea. Oh, wait, that was you. 20 minutes ago. Did you have a suggestion there, Wolfpaq?
Well, I was just going to say, I think the wizard skill Critical Mass is a fantastic passive, because you can totally build a character around that. And one of the things...
And what does it do, people who don't know?
Okay, Critical Mass is the wizard skill that when you critically hit, all of your cooldowns are reduced by 1 second. And you
use that with skills that have a lot of hit checks,
yeah.
and you can take critical hits down very quickly.
Yeah, and there's a couple, they nerfed it, right? Because it used to be ridiculous. I know I saw a video of this Korean dude, like, perma-stunning Diablo with the...
It's always the Korean dudes.
Yeah, oh my gosh. He like, perma-frost nova, perma-stun with the lightning proc. It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen, so obviously it needed to be nerfed, but now I think you have to use more than one skill to get the most benefit from it, but you still, there are wizards clearing Inferno right now, revolving their builds around that, and one of the cool things about Diablo II was there were items that you could make a build around. There was claws that gave whirlwind, so assassins could, and I'm not advocating that we allow us to give class abilities across classes again. I don't think that was a good idea, but they could invent new skills that you gain by having a weapon. And I'm not sure how that would work with the pretty restricted interface we have right now, but fortunately, that's not my job. Like I really hope that the new uniques they release are have the kind of power where you could say, I'm gonna make a bloodthirster build, a bloodthirster monk build, and everyone will know that's what you mean because they know what the bloodthirster item is. Like something to give the uniques a sense of identity. Because right now, I really, really hope they take away the random affixes on sets and legendaries, because it takes the fact that it's random makes it seem almost like a rare. I know I was looking through the item DB like a couple of days ago, and I was noticing that some uniques have up to three random properties, and you're like, what? Like, how does that have any? That's practically a rare at that point. So that would be my two things: make legendaries awesome enough to make a build around them, and then take away any sense of randomness, so that when you get an item, it's going to be great without having to hope for a rare type luck in your roll.
I feel like they need to up the drop rate on them slightly, too. I mean, with 5 stacks of Valor, maybe make them a 5% drop rate or something,
yeah,
10%.
I totally agree with that. I'm tired of going back to town with nothing but rares and blues.
It's hard to even get excited about the prospect of buffed legendaries when, I don't even expect them or think about them anymore. It's like you see orange, you're like, oh my god, it's oh my god.
It's Leoric's rib. It's a black mushroom.
Yeah.
Right.
The vast majority of oranges I've seen are those. It's like, oh wow, a jar of a rainbow.
Yeah, exactly.
So, other question about in-game stuff. People are wondering about, this is not a Demon Hunter specific topic, it's about our last topic here. What does Diablo 3 need to change the game to make it more fun? Are you content with Inferno running the same Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, okay, just Act 1, over and over again forever? Do you want new dungeon types, bottomless dungeons with like higher level monsters? I mean, what kind of variety could you see in Inferno, or in dungeons, or in late game stuff that would make it more fun than just grinding the same content over and over again?
When they posted that poll the other day, I really liked the idea of an endless dungeon. I mean, it made me think I don't know if you guys have played Devil May Cry, where they had this 1,000-floor dungeon, that you just can keep progressing through and see how far you can get, and then there's leaderboards for it, and see who can get the furthest through it, and maybe the most hardcore people would have it beaten in a week, I'm sure, but, people like us, I'm sure would grind away at it, and maybe it turned into another grind, but I think that could be cool.
I don't think they need to do anything with the game. I just think they need to fix items. For me, that's what Diablo 2 is all about. I think there are plenty of exciting and fun areas in the game itself to go play through right now, but when, there's just so much they could do. There's only 4 gems. They could add more gems. They could fix some of the gems now, like rubies, which are completely worthless at endgame unless you're looking at them for strength.
Yeah.
And topazes and weapons are damage reflect. What? That doesn't. I don't know anyone who uses those in their weapons. The part of the reason that emeralds are so high in cost is because they're the thing that you socket in your weapon, and that's boring. I want to, where's the thing I put in my weapon to give me higher attack speed? Where's the thing I put in my weapon to give me life leech? Where's the thing I put in
the expansion, I think.
It's just,
yeah, right.
There's just so much in the item. I would much rather them scrap any work on any sort of endgame content and focus exclusively on making the item game better, because right now the item game kind of sucks. It's just hope for a good rare, and that's it. I mean, I know they're working on improving sets and legendaries, but I don't think that's enough. Because it's at the soul of it, that's what Diablo is. It is an item game, and I think part of it, like you said earlier, JrMint, is they need to increase drop rates, because I'm tired of finding just, rares and blues in over half of my Magic Find runs, or way more than half, 90% of my Magic Find runs.
Maybe even if they added it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and I have over 300% Magic Find when I'm doing my runs, too, which is, it's not the best, but it's, it's pretty high given the limitations of our current system.
Maybe if they added some sort of a currency, I mean, like World of Warcraft has, where, you get points for every single rare you kill, and it'll take a while, but, if you can amass 1,000 points and each rare gives 5 points, then you can buy an eye level 63 weapon with 1,200 DPS. I don't know. Maybe the mobs are going to kill me for saying something like that, but at least there you feel like you're working towards something, right? And it's not completely random.
Yeah, or it could just be a gambling system or something.
Yeah. We have that. It's called crafting.
Right.
Yeah, maybe if they let us craft eye level 63s, that would be good.
Yeah. So crafting system obviously is. I was talking to somebody earlier today. I guess it wasn't you, JrMint. It was one of the other auditioning podcast peoples, and he was reflecting about how gambling in D2, even though like it was a crappy system and gold didn't matter, etc., it was actually useful because you could, eventually you get a good rare, a good amulet or ring, and you could get uniques and sets with it. Back when Diablo games had uniques and sets. And of course they said crafting was going to be all improved in D3 because it's like gambling, but it's got what kind of item you're going to get, and you can like save up materials and make a really cool thing. But then of course every crafting recipe is just a crappy rare at best.
Yeah.
And it costs, you have to break down 50 rares to craft one new one, and it's going to suck. So it doesn't seem like, crafting, if you recall the crafting system in Diablo 2, you could make like blood gloves and stuff, and you could actually guarantee life leech or critical hit or other useful stats that you couldn't get otherwise. And it seems like maybe, we're all saying that we need uniques that do stuff you don't get on rares. Shouldn't crafting give you stuff that you don't get on rares? It makes you a rare, but it's got a guaranteed, here's this glove, and it's always going to have 2 to 5% faster attack rate.
Yeah.
Or plus 100 dexterity at least. That's your base stat on it. It seems like there's so much room to improve crafting.
Yeah.
Have you guys even looked at crafting, or you just sell everything and don't care?
I bought the Demon Hunter 6 property cloak because I really wanted to get one with 10 discipline on it, and I crafted a bunch of those. But it was...
You paid for the plan in the auction house.
Yeah, I did.
How expensive was that?
Like 2 mil, I think.
That's not bad.
No.
And how much material does it cost? Do you know off the top of your head?
It's like 90K.
Like 10 and 5?
No, not 10. It's like... you know what? I have the U.S. Battle.net site open. I can just look.
Yeah, while he's looking, I think the point is just that, randomness is fine to a degree, but I just think they have to show that your hard work is paying off towards something, even if you're not getting an item in some form or fashion.
So how many of these cloaks have you made, Wolfpaq, before you got something good, or are you still trying?
I'm still trying. I got one decent cloak, and that's the one I'm wearing now that I was mentioning had Hatred Regen on it, and also 3 sockets and a bunch of it decks. So
how many did you make to get that
I made like 20, and each one cost 90K gold on top of 10 Tomes of Secrets, 5 Iridescent Tears, and 35 Essences.
Wow.
So you've got to find at least like 40 items, plus the tomes, every time you want to... So basically you make like what? Like 1 or 2 for every time you do a full item magic find run kind of thing?
Yeah, maybe at best, and that's the gold cost itself. I think is too much. Like I think the material cost I'm okay with because you can break down. Like tomes are pretty common. You can break down materials, but like 100,000 gold really just to gamble a rare, one rare that's not even the max eye level. Like I find that to be ridiculous.
Are you able to sell them on the AH though? The ones you make?
The only one I've made that I thought I could sell in the auction house I'm using.
Oh yeah.
So no.
There you go.
but 20 is pretty low. I've talked to crafters who've made hundreds, so So
they made 100 of something that costs 100K a pop almost.
Yeah.
So
these people are crazy.
So what kind of cloak could you buy for 9 million gold?
Probably one with 10 discipline on it.
Yeah, probably.
Probably one better than you're going to make in 90 tries.
Yeah.
So what if that cloak had a way you could include, a high-level gem, and it would give you guaranteed 100 dexterity plus other stuff, something like that? So it would be even more expensive, but at least you'd have it would greatly increase the odds of it being viable.
Yeah, that would be cool, but I don't think it would quite fix crafting in and of itself. I think that they really need to just reconsider what their goals are with it, because right now, unless you've got the capital to really mass produce something, you don't have much of a chance of getting something good.
And plus, what you're making is competing directly with the rares you're finding, because they have all the same mods. So
Yeah.
that's why they need to have maybe something special on crafting that you can't get. Something different and original and unique.
That
Yeah,
would
they
be
need
nice.
to do something
Have you-
major for crafting.
Either of you guys ever found one of the jeweler recipes, the jeweler plans?
Nope.
No.
You know, there's an achievement for teaching him 10 of those.
Wow.
Has anybody in the universe gotten that achievement?
don't know.
Isn't there only like 3 of them you can learn anyway? I thought there's like. Oh no, there's the different colors. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
There's like,
Yeah, I think there's like 12.
Right, I
Yeah.
forgot the different colors you can get. Yeah.
So there's 3 levels times 4 gems.
Yeah, exactly.
And none of us, we played 1,000 hours combined, never found a single one. So
yeah.
good luck with that.
If I found one, I would sell it instantly. Gems are so expensive to craft; it's not even worth it.
Yeah, you look in it's funny, you look in the auction house and you can buy all this great equipment and stuff, and then just like the second highest gem is like 3 million, or 27 million for some of the kinds. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Gems cost way more than other stuff.
Yeah. Well, because it's 13.5 mil just in crafting costs to go from rank 8 to rank 14.
Yeah, it's funny that because they nerfed the lower cost of gems, almost to nothing. It's like 10 gold. It used to be like 500. And then suddenly you get to the one above Flawless Square, and it's 30K a pop. You're like, oh my god!
And then 90K right after that. It's like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it goes from like 50 cents to like $1,000 instantly. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, and then you go in the auction house and buy them for less than that. No one's quite sure how that happens, but okay, guys. Any last thoughts on Demon Hunters? You're still happy playing? What do you any changes? If nothing changes for Demon Hunters in 104, will you cry, throw a fit, or hunt Jay Wilson down like a dog in the street? Wolfpaq.
I will be I'll probably stop playing if nothing changes for Demon Hunters, but I can't believe that would happen. It's supposed to be the class, Mike made that post. It's going to be the skill balancing patch, so I don't think that's a realistic possibility. But, anything could happen.
Good luck for Jay's lifespan. How about you, Junior?
Yeah, I'd be pretty disappointed. I think the one thing I'm holding out for most is them reducing maybe the cost of cluster arrow by half, because I don't think a lot of people use that in progression builds, so hopefully that'll be one
Nobody
of those.
uses that
Yeah.
for Wolfpaq.
Exactly. So hopefully that'll go to maybe 25 hatred, and that'd be great. But yeah, if they didn't do anything, that'd be pretty crazy.
I have to go try it now that I've heard someone actually use it. I always look at the hover and it's like 50. I'm like, 50? That's like half my hatred.
It does some amazing damage if you get a crit. Yeah.
It better have a sparkle pony too for that much cost.
No kidding.
Okay, guys, any last thoughts?
No, I think I'm
Just
good.
waiting for 104?
Yes.
Waiting patiently for 104 and leveling a barb at the same time, I guess.
Okay, thanks for your time, guys. You've been listening to the Diablo Podcast. We are online at diablopodcast.com. Moo.
Uh,
Moo.